to that issue?
Objection.
Sustain.
You would agree with me that that call and the record of that deletion of that call is nowhere in your April 24th report, correct?
I believe it's in my May 9th report.
All right, but I asked you about your April 24th report, sir.
I didn't address anything regarding phone calls in my April 24th report.
All right, now going back to when you began your examination around May 4th of 2022, you were looking for information on, did you look on Jennifer McCabe's phone back in May 4th of 2022?
Did I physically open the phone or did it
Did you review the data at all?
I'm confused, on the cell phone itself or from the report?
Either way.
No, her phone was returned to her and then we had the extraction. I did not utilize the extraction at all.
You never included the two searches that we discussed, the, how long TI die in CIKD and how long to die in cold, in the full file system extraction that was turned over to the defense, did you?
They were included.
Well, page 6 of your April 24th, 2023 report goes on to state that when you switch to a new version of Celebrite, and
Sorry,
that dropped out.
Yeah, it was the phone call, the power log.
Page 6 of your April 24th, 2023 report says that when you switch to a new version of Celebrite Physical Analyzer, which was version 7.61.0.12, you found an artifact from the browser state DB wall file for a Google search of Hoslong dying cold at 2:27 and 40 seconds, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Trooper, I'm placing before you what has been marked as Exhibit 99. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the searches that were done at 6:23 regarding the misspelled how long to die in the cold.
Okay, and it's actually Hoslong to die in cold,
Yes.
right? HOS?
Yep, that was,
And that was marked by Celebrite as deleted, was it not?
yes.
All right. And your April 24th, 2023 report goes on to mention 2 deleted calls to Jen McCabe's sister, Nicole, who was saved as Coco in her phone, correct?
I'd have to see it, but I believe so.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Showing you what's been marked Y for identification. If you'd familiarize yourself with that and look up at me when you're done.
Okay.
Does that show the 2 deleted calls to Jen McCabe's sister, Nicole, who was saved as Coco in her phone?
I don't know who it's coming from, but it does say it's going to Coco and then again, coming from wall files, correct.
All right. And your report doesn't mention it, but what was the duration of those 2 calls according to that log?
On this sheet here, it says 9 seconds for the first one and then 7 seconds for the other.
All right. And those calls, both of them, which actually had durations, were marked answered by Celebrate, correct?
Yes.
May I offer that, Your Honor?
Do you need
An
both?
objection?
I believe it's already in, but
I'm sorry?
I believe it's already.
Why for identification?
No, I understand. I believe Ms. McCabe's phone calls and all of that is already marked as an exhibit months ago.
Your Honor, I don't think there's any harm in marking this, and I want to display it.
All right, I'll let you display it if it's already in evidence. I just don't want duplicates.
I understand.
So what I'll do is I'll let you display it, and then, Mr. Lally, at some point you find where this is, and we will mark this like A to whatever
Okay.
the
That makes a lot of
whatever
sense.
the number is.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Bates, if you could display what was marked Y for identification. And Trooper, with regard to what is displayed on the screen now, is that consistent with what I had just handed to you?
Yes, it is.
And with regard to the first entry there, you had stated that it doesn't say you said it doesn't say who was making the call. Was that your testimony?
Yes, just says right here,
Yep.
2. I'm guessing that's the last 4 of the number, says the rest is blurred, and then, yeah, that's it.
Okay. And you know that that 0204 last 4 digits, that is to somebody who was listed as Coco in the phone, correct?
I don't know any of these phone numbers or people.
But you previously testified these 2 calls were somebody who was named Coco in the phone.
Oh, yeah, from the sheet you gave me that shows it.
Okay. And the time of the first call was 6:07:42, is that right?
That's correct.
And you testified that that's the one that had the duration of 9 seconds,
Yes.
listed as answered
Correct.
and deleted, correct?
Yes and no, and I can explain if you'd like.
It's listed as deleted, is it not?
There's a reason why.
Is it listed as deleted?
It is, but there's a reason why.
With regard to the second call, that appears to be to the same number, or at least the same last 4 digits.
Yes,
And in the sheet in front of you, that's also to Coco, correct?
yes,
And that has a timestamp of 6:08 and 17 seconds, correct?
that is correct.
That also has a duration, and that's of 7 seconds,
Yes,
also listed as answered,
yes,
and also marked deleted, correct?
yes, and there's a reason.
And are you aware that Ms. McCabe made other calls that morning, which were in fact marked unanswered by Celebrate?
Again, I'd have to see what you're referring to.
So as you testified to here today, you have no memory as to whether or not she made a number of other calls that were marked deleted, sir?
There are a number of calls that morning. I have not memorized all of them.
And again, Your Honor, if I may approach to show something that's on a computer screen.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay. I've placed before you what appears to be a PDF document on a computer screen. If you familiarize yourself with it and look up at me when you're done.
Okay.
What does that appear to be, sir?
An incomplete PDF of the call logs from whoever's call log this is.
Okay. And do you see in that PDF that there were a number of calls that were marked unanswered by Celebrate?
Again, I can't testify to any of this because I can't confirm that where this data came from. There's no source file. This is it's incomplete. So I do see what you're talking about in that column, but I don't know what any of this data is from or who made this.
Is your name on it?
At the very top, it would show my name no matter what because I created the UFED and the extraction. I did not create this PDF.
So the answer to my question is your name is on that document, correct?
It is, but I didn't create it.
Right. And with regard to the calls that were marked unanswered, would you agree with me that Celebrate had them with durations of 0 seconds?
Objection.
Can you agree with that? Can you answer that question? If you can, please answer it.
With the data given here, I can't because, like I said, I don't know where they got this from, Your Honor.
So who created that document?
I don't know.
So are you testifying that nobody in law enforcement created that document, or no forensic expert for the Commonwealth created that document?
I created the extraction and made a UFED reader report, which is basically a portable Celebrate version that I use at the office. I gave that to defense. I don't know who created this PDF version of data with specific things. I did not.
Was it Michael Proctor?
No. As I said, I was the only one that created any Celebrate related reports in this case.
Well, I'd like to ask you some questions about my client's cell phone, sir.
Okay.
On Tuesday, when Mr. Lally was questioning you, he had you point out and read some text messages that were on her phone between John O'Keefe and her, correct?
Those messages were taken from John O'Keefe's phone.
Okay. Would you agree with me when he was pointing out those text messages to you, he skipped about 40 pages of messages at one point?
I don't know. I believe their text messages went back all the way to 2020 or something ridiculous in his phone.
He started reading them and he skipped ahead about 40 pages, did he not?
I have no idea.
Michael Proctor seized my client's phone on January 29th of 2022, did he not?
He did.
And you would agree with me that certainly as of 6 days later, your February 4th report, you had not yet been able to access the content of the phone, correct?
That's not true.
At some point, you were able to access the content of the phone, correct?
Yes, on January 31st.
Of 2022,
Yes.
all right? You later became aware that Michael Proctor was searching through my client's phone in August of 22, correct?
The actual device itself? Or the extraction report?
Either one, sir.
I have, I'm sorry, Miss Reed's phone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't,
Hey, John O'Keefe's phone?
yes, that's why I was
I
confused. Sorry.
apologize. I'm not trying to confuse
Yeah.
you. With regard to my client's phone, which is where we started.
Yeah.
You're aware that Michael Proctor was searching through her phone in August of 2022.
Of the extraction report created, correct.
Were you made aware that on January 1st of 2023, the defense requested a full forensic image of Karen Reed's phone, which was in your possession?
I don't know the date, but a request was made for the phone extraction, yes.
And have you seen a forensic image or celebrate a report of the forensic image from Karen Reed's phone?
The redacted version that I received back from the AG's office, yes.
Okay. And would you please tell the jurors how many phone calls were deleted from Karen Reed's phone from January 29th of 2022?
None.
And if you'd please tell the jurors, other than to John O'Keefe, to whom did Ms. Reed place phone calls between 12 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. on January 29th?
Her parents twice. There 2 or 3 times there's calls to her parents, and that's it.
And how many Google searches did she do from 12 a.m. until 5 a.m.?
I don't believe there were any.
And how many Google searches were deleted by Ms. Reed at any point on January 29th of 2022?
I can't speak to that because we got a redacted version of the report, so I don't know what was taken out by the AG's office. I don't know what files they went in to remove, so I only have what I was given.
But leaving that aside, sir, with regard to all of the data that was provided to you,
Mhm.
how many Google searches did you see or find that Karen Reed deleted from January 29th of 2022?
A few.
During what time period?
The afternoon, but again, there was artifacts that I found that weren't date and time stamped, and there were some that were with corresponding timestamps, but I can't say for sure when that was done.
Okay. But you saw no deleted calls, correct?
No, not that I know of.
All right. I may have a moment.
Yes.
Sorry. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Now it'll probably get a little drier.
Mr. Bergerino, you were asked about qualifications as far as certifications that you received in prior
This guy
trainings,
did
correct?
everything to
What are some of
screw
the
this
areas
case
that you
up.
received certifications?
Cell phone report creation, extraction, cell phone repair, the Berlin Motor Vehicle Forensics, advanced database, the class called CASA, but it's a Cellbrite-made class that goes deeper into the database searching, SQLite programming to write code to do your own searches, things of that nature.
Now, at any point in time, did Trooper Proctor ever tell you that he retrieved Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone directly from 34 Fairview Road?
No, he didn't.
Is it your understanding, or subsequently did you learn that Kerry Roberts actually recovered the phone from under Mr. O'Keefe's body, from the grass under his body at 34 Fairview Road when he was placed onto a scoop stretcher?
I don't know who recovered the phone that morning, but I know.
I'll allow it.
I don't
Your
know.
answer is you don't know who recovered it?
No, I just know that it was found underneath his body and then taken to Canton PD.
Now, with regard to that, as far as the location data post 6:15 a.m., what, if anything, did you observe in reference to that?
There was some intermittent native locations that showed at the Canton PD. It's there for a handful of different points, and then it shows it back at our office when I put it into the digital evidence lab, powered on to plug in.
You received the phone from Trooper Proctor. Was that either in airplane mode or Faraday back?
I don't remember offhand.
But there were no locations or GPS locations that you observed from the phone from that approximately 11 something a.m. until you retrieved it or received it, excuse me, at 7:30 p.m. on the 29th?
There's, like I said, there's only the handful that showed it at Canton PD, and then when it's back at the office that night. And then if it wasn't in airplane mode, it would have been something I would have done. So I don't remember if Proctor did it before he gave it to me or if I did it after.
Now, the other troopers in your unit, in the detective unit with Norfolk DA's office, are they as well versed on cell phone extractions and cell phone data as you are?
No.
And so again, how many people within your specific unit actually perform data extractions or forensic analysis of cell phone?
Myself, Trooper Connor Keefe, and everyone has been trained in how to use Cellbrite and to do these extractions. They all just sort of dump them on my desk and say, do this phone for me. So
now, as far as what you provide to one of the investigating troopers, such as Trooper Proctor, can you explain to the jury sort of that process of how what if any differences there are between what you're looking at as far as the device when you're extracting the information and what you provide to the trooper?
So when I plug into Graykey or Cellbrite or whatever tool I'm using to extract the data, it creates that zip file, and then I open it up in Cellbrite or Axiom. The guys are only trained in Cellbrite, so that's what I open the extractions initially in for them. If there's something that we find that they don't understand and that I want to look more into, I'll load into Axiom as well. But that's normally how it would go.
Now, is there any way from the version or the extraction that you provide to the trooper, is there any way for that or any trooper to change or manipulate that data from what is initially contained on the phone?
Well, in essence, you could, but you'd have to go in. So once I create like that UFED reader, which is the portable case, you would have to go into the folders and then delete stuff, which would change all of the data. And then when I would load it up later, it probably wouldn't work right. But that's why we save the encrypted extraction onto the server. So if anything ever messes up, we can go back and reload it, and I can create whatever reports I need with it.
And so from your review of the data in the phones in this case, what, if anything, did you observe in regard to any manipulation of data or deletion of data or removal of data from what you observed?
From the encrypted files that we have, none. And then we didn't have passcodes for the phones for John O'Keefe's until the 31st. And then again for Miss Reed's until, like I said, August, once the program was able to open it.
Now, you were asking questions about Mr. Green's affidavit. Following your review of Mr. Green's affidavit, what, if any, steps did you take in relation to what was indicated in there?
So as I said, I didn't really go through the phones much when we first got them. I don't know everything about the cases the investigators do. So I got his report and I went through it and basically just went step by step. So he says, this happened. I went to confirm it. If it didn't, then I need to find out why he was either incorrect or slightly off and either just completely wrong or just misinterpreted the data. And that was it.
And in addition to yourself going through some of the data, who, if anyone, did you contact to assist or to also, in addition, go through the data specifically as it related to the searches for Mr. Case?
So initially, when I first found it, I spoke with Chris Vance of Magnet Forensics. He's their head technical guy for Axiom. He's like their forensic specialist. So he was at the cybercrime conference. I brought him.
I'm going to allow this.
I brought the extraction there and I said, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what it parsed out. Why are we seeing it marked this way? And he goes, well, first off, you have to look exactly where it's coming from. The browser state.
Sure.
So I'll strike that last part, what he told you.
Okay. Reviewing the data, we saw that it came from the browser state DB file and .wall file, I should say, at the end. So it set off a lot of red flags. And then from there, we contacted Cellbrite and ultimately Jessica Hyde.
And ultimately, Mr. Whiffen as well, is that correct?
Yes, he came in after Cellbrite. I had reached out to them and they escalated it up, and he reached out to us to help us.
Now, with respect to the health data that you were asked about, again, if you could explain to the jury when something in there in the health data says steps, what exactly does steps mean?
As I said before, the phone is seeing movement. Doesn't necessarily mean you're taking steps. If you have the iWatch paired to it, you're going to get a greater level of accuracy. And I would be more apt to believe that steps are being taken because it's going to also bring your heart rate. So if you're taking a large amount of steps, it's going to correspond.
Now, you were asked a lot of questions on cross-examination about just the health data and just the health data. Why is it that you would look beyond just the health?
Well, you have the GPS points as well as the health data. We're trying to look at everything together as a whole. You take one artifact and say, well, this means this, but you could have 5 others that disclaim it. So that's why we look at all of this stuff.
Now, from that same information, as far as the GPS data, that indicated that Mr. O'Keefe's phone arrived at 34 Fairview Road at 12:25 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as the clocks or the 3 different clocks that was presented to you, that's now been marked for identification, you indicated that those were not accurate. Is that correct?
Well, the file that it's coming from is not accurate. So it came from a power log file. That's the database it pulled from. So that it's telling you the power of the phone. So when I looked at that, that also shows the battery level. And that's how I was able to show that, or see, I should say, that John O'Keefe's phone never turned off. It dropped down to about 17% battery level. From being under his body, it was actually saved it from dying overnight. Then it also shows the timestamps of when it gets plugged in and as it goes up. That has 3 different timestamps. That's what that is from. That is not when Waze is started. That is not when the address is put in. That is strictly for the power log. There's nothing to do with anything else.
And so, sort of to that point, what, if any, connection to those timestamps in the the document marked for identification Mr. Giannetti showed you, what, if any, relationship does that have to the timestamps contained within either the Waze or GPS native locations or anything else that you were testifying about before?
It's literally showing that Waze has been opened and that it's pulling power from the phone, and that is it. That is nothing else.
Now, with regard to, you were asked some questions about Ms. McCabe signing consent for extraction on February 2nd, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Kerry Roberts, she did the same on the same date. Is that also correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, the entirety of those extractions from both Ms. McCabe's phone and Ms. Roberts' phones, those were both provided well in advance of the dates the council was indicating, correct?
That is correct.
Now, in regard to the Cellbrite extraction, in regard to Mr. Green's affidavit, Cellbrite has periodically updates the versions of their software, correct?
That is correct.
And if you could you speak a bit about sort of the update in those versions and how that pertains to this case and specifically Ms. McCabe's searches?
So the initial report that I created with version 7.53 did not have that item to be able to be taken out. I was told by Cellbrite that 7.55 was the version that was enabled. Mr. Green used version 7.61. So that's why it presented itself then.
Can I just stop you there for 1 second? The version that Mr. Green used, was that available at the time that you did the initial extraction?
No, it wasn't available for like a year later. It was like 10 upgrades later.
Sorry, sir, continue.
So again, he did the extraction, he looked at it, finds this artifact that's parsed out, and then I had to go back in and scramble to say, well, why didn't I see it the first time when that report, why didn't it pull? So I reloaded the 7.53 version. It's not there. And then when I loaded into 7.61, it is. So there's just an issue with the software at the time.
So, sir, with regard to those Google searches, what, if any, opinion do you have as to when those Google searches were conducted?
When Ms. McCabe told us that it happened at 6:23 and 6:24. And then there was a third one later at 10:35 that, again, if she reopened that browser window, it's going to reload the search. And then that was it. Those are the 3 times that I saw in the phone extraction that were real searches.
And why is it that it's your opinion that they occurred at 6:23 and 6:24 in the morning and not 2:27?
Well, it's just physically impossible to search 2 things at once. Her phone, she's searching the daughter's basketball at 2:27, and then she's searching It's Raining Men and a few other things on her phone, listening to music. And I think then she goes to bed a few hours later. So I was told as the defendant asked her to search for those terms, that's when we believed that they were done.
Now, as far as all files are write-ahead log, having things listed as deleted, if you could just speak a little bit more about that as far as why would something be listed as deleted in a wall file, and what does that mean?
Again, the user has no input on how a wall file is deleted. It's an automated thing that the database does to clean up. It auto deletes after
Search it's on at 6
either
in the
programs are
morning.
closed, it reaches a max
It's not gonna reboot.
data allotment for that page. That is it.
2:30 search on basketball.
And that would include
replace it with
any sort of call log
Not
history
as
that was
long
contained in the write-ahead log of the
in
wall
the
file as well.
code.
That is correct.
And so what, if any, opinion do you have as to those phone calls that you were showing in relation to the contact listed in Ms. McCabe's phone as Coco, as far as whether or not they were user deleted?
Well, again, what the defense showed me was limited thing. I know should be 2 other locations that phone call was listed from looking at it myself. So I don't know why they gave me just the 2 deleted things, but there should be other spots in the database where that phone call was there. So I don't believe that it was user initiated. It was phone initiated.
And that's in reference to the write-ahead log, sort of first in, first out as far as data that comes in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, again, as far as your unit was concerned, you were the only one who created any cell-by reports in relation to any of the phones, in this case, with the exception of the defendant's phone that was created by the Attorney General's office following their extraction of privileged material, correct?
Objection.
So objection is sustained as to the form. This seems a good place to stop. So jurors, we'll take the luncheon break. There is a chance that we may be able to go a full day tomorrow. So just think about that at lunch. If there's any emergency that would prevent you from being able to go a full day.
Sir, it's closing. You don't look leaving on the chairs. All right, well, all right.
Yes. So Mac has units. Chris Bates.
I guarantee when people go home, they're putting on all these shows. They're putting on Surviving the Survivor, Turtle Show. When the jurors go home, you really think the jurors are not saying, well, let me see what Mike Crawford is saying on the Young Jerks. Or let me hear what JFK has to say about this and how this happens all over the country to people. And now we're seeing it happen to someone that's privileged. If it fits the narrative, absolutely, man. We are definitely starting to see a lot of things. Somebody said in Massachusetts, what's up with shaving heads? What's up with the shaved heads with the police in Massachusetts? That is a very good question. Let's see. You know what? Go check out On Civil Law. We're gonna go there right now, and oh, he didn't even put that one up yet. But I want to go. Let's see. Premieres in 3 hours. Will the Commonwealth rest? I don't know. Is the Commonwealth ready to rest yet? Let's see what Colin Landry is saying.
How that can affect, and it doesn't show. Yeah, at first I thought that did she interjecting as this on this case too? Oh, okay. Then somebody. Then I got misinformation. I've seen her doing other stuff, correcting other trials, but apparently I was told that she was looking at it as a juror. So maybe not. Okay, then I stand corrected. I haven't watched the channel because I'm busy doing this one. So I know she had a lot of people. I mean, it sounded like a good strategy to me. Anyways, what I was saying was, I have a. Yeah, he's more way more crestimony. Way more crestimony. Wow, I am tired. What are you doing down there? Hey, no, don't do that. Don't do that. What do you have? Oh. She found a piece of popcorn under me on my desk. Oh man, it's a break. That's a break. That's why I said court on break. We have the OnlyFans. OnlyFans is playing Crime Spies. Yeah, they're on break for 45 minutes. They're going on lunch today. They're on their lunch break. So, anyways, my point was, I find the cell phone data. So he is conflicting of what the previous witnesses said, which does not surprise me, because it's the Gong Show. He is not a Gong Show. I believe this guy over anybody I've heard from prosecution, besides Brian Tully. And there was one other witness that they had, the forensic people that they had, who have no dog in this fight. I have a really hard time believing all of this stuff, because he denied what defense had was not his files and documents. He said was.
And the fact, Lally kind of heard his argument on these witnesses too, when he said, I don't know what their opinion is. And she said, I'm going to give you a shot to ask. And he never did. So he kind of forfeited his right to make that argument. She said, I'm going to let you ask him questions, both of them questions, how they got to where they got. He didn't even try.
Yeah.
It's almost
What's the point?
What's the point? Because you know what? He's not equipped to.
Yeah.
Look at these guys. These guys are as solid experts as you're ever going to see, just in their demeanor, their credentials, their tone, everything. So, but the judge, she was awful today. It's true.
So it's that, Mark, can you explain why no one can tell the truth about who hired these witnesses in front of the jury?
Well, they're not they're not going to be allowed to say the FBI because, you know, we don't want to give the jury the impression that there is an FBI investigation into the prosecutors. I understand that. But what you're going to see is what you saw Jackson do today and what we.
Like I was saying, do we not think that the jurors are watching the videos, are watching court TV when they go home? I mean, they're not supposed to be, but do we not think that they are? Absolutely. They want to see what Mark Betterow is going to say.
Talked about previously.
From New York City.
He's going to make it abundantly clear that I didn't hire you. I'm not paying you. I didn't know you before trial. You just kind of landed in my lap. And the jury, who's already heard about other proceedings, has already heard about federal grand jury, whether they were supposed to or not, is clearly going to be able to connect the dots that these guys were hired independently by the FBI. But either way, once it's established that they were not hired by the defense, they're not being paid by the defense, the DA loses the argument that they make in every case, which is you're getting paid a ton of money to say what they want you to say. And they're not even going to, that would be a bad faith question on cross-examination. That would actually be bad faith by the DA because they know it's not true.
That's amazing because most of these experts are usually paid.
You never see, even if an expert is a pro bono expert for some reason, which I guess happens from time to time, what you never see is the defense in a murder case call as their strongest defense witnesses experts who are hired by the FBI to confirm or dispel whether the state prosecutor is wrongfully prosecuting the defendant. And if you can't, as the DA, see what's happening here and see how freaking stupid and incompetent and clueless you look when these witnesses come marching in, I don't know why anybody would give them the benefit of the doubt to think that they're acting in good faith at this point. Because what are they going to do to cross-examine the FBI? You got one little clue today that you only got the materials that they gave you, right?
Yeah.
Now,
you're going to go against the FBI.
Well, that's my point. He needs to be careful with that, too, because he
Yeah.
may open the door to the defense then establishing, wait a minute, this is the FBI, okay? If you start suggesting that some unknown entity is just cherry picking what evidence they see because they must be some sketchy organization, then I would make an argument that that's misleading the jury, and the jury has a right to know it's the Federal Bureau of Investigation. These are, professionals, and they ought to know that. So if I were Lally, if you're watching tonight, be careful.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Be careful. Stay off the third rail.
I mean, it's huge. It's huge. Just the fact that they're not paid witnesses, like experts. It's just amazing. That's why I'm smiling today. Maz, I got to get you in. What do you think? Are you smiling? Like, you must be double smiling today.
I am double smiling. There's a lot to smile about. The Celtics won, and I was thinking all day, I'm like, I'm sitting here, like, even last night, and I'm celebrating the Celtics championship, but I'm not doing it to the ecstatic level I did it in 2008. I'm like, what's going on?
Reconstruction, and you have no higher education really to speak of except community college.
That is crazy, right? So their expert witness, an associate's degree, community college. That was yesterday. Trooper Paul. Yo, he looks like, a couple of days ago.
Great. We're off to a really, really auspicious start over here. That's fantastic news.
Define kinematics, George.
Deals with the aspect of motion.
It's a subfield of what broader field?
Kinematics.
Kinematics is a subfield of what broader discipline of science?
I'm not sure.
Physics.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I don't know
He said, I'm
what
not
kinematics
sure.
is a sub-discipline of. But I'm an expert witness. Your expertise runs deep.
What's that called?
the rate of velocity? What's another word for that?
Acceleration.
The rate of velocity.
Yes, acceleration.
I mean, it deals with the
It's called acceleration.
motion. It deals with forward.
This is
and
the
also deals with
expert
speed. It deals with,
witness.
travel and speed.
Acceleration.
If something's moving, it also has a speed to it.
God damn
The
it.
word you're looking for is acceleration. Correct.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah,
When the lawyer is
Yeah.
more of an expert witness
Yeah.
than you
it's called
are.
acceleration. Holy shit. Woo!
What's the difference between constrained and unconstrained motion?
Constrained and unconstrained motion.
That's what I asked.
Constrained motion. I can't recollect at the moment.
Constrained mo-
You
Oh
can't
my
recall what
God.
constrained motion is versus unconstrained motion. You can't even take a guess at what the difference between constrained motion and unconstrained motion is.
State's witness.
I feel like it's kind of on the label.
They're expert.
You know, it's right there. It's right there.
This
One is
the
constrained.
expert.
One is unconstrained. You can't even take a guess at what it means
Shout out to
just from the
Uncivil Law, man.
terms.
Go check him out, man. He's
Exciting
hilarious.
news.
Hilarious.
Yes, here's some made up information that we came up with because we didn't record the placement of anything.
Reacting to Karen.
So you see
B.
diagram 3 on the board.
How this
Understand.
diagram is being allowed into evidence is beyond me because none of this information was recorded by the people who, you know, collected it. So how this diagram is being offered
The people that
is
collected it
is
didn't even
beyond
bring a
me
damn tape
at this
measure.
point. It's a work of fiction.
Based on that, does that change your opinion? Is that now, the fire hydrant now the point of impact?
No,
Where's the point of impact now?
it's along the roadway. I don't know the exact point of impact. Can I?
So you don't know the area of impact?
I said the area impact is along the roadway after the debris.
Okay.
I mean, only thing it would change. Only thing it would change is maybe it's a little further away. But besides that, it's a linear field. I'm not talking about like one point. It's you kind of follow the middle of the debris field, and that should be the path.
Well,
He's reasoning by scatter plot. That's fun. Yeah, we found, well, first of all, that would require you to know where the pieces are to even be able to do that in the first place, right? So if you knew exactly where the pieces were, then you could try to draw a line that averages them out, as you might do in a scatter plot, and be like, well, this is essentially the average. But first of all, that's a very weird thing to do, kind of. And second of all, it would require you to know exactly where the pieces are in order to be able to draw the line. If you don't know where the pieces are, you can't draw the average line in the scatter plot. And he doesn't know exactly where they were because they weren't documented. So his entire, first of all, I'm not sure scatter plot is the way to go. Second of all, even if it was, he doesn't know where the pieces are in order to draw the scatter plot. So how can he say what's linear or not? Because how can he draw the line if he doesn't know where the pieces are? Okay, that's fine. Sure, no problem.
all right, so if you use that scale, can you estimate for the jurors? I'm just going to use this X as a starting point. You estimate for the jurors from this X that I've highlighted. The pedestrian's final rest. What's that number? Doesn't have to be exact. Give me an estimate.
So, I mean, it could be within 30 feet because I tell you this also on my scale, this 2 and 3 is 50 feet.
This X down here. So pedestrian's final rest. That's profilized. That's probably a good 35, 40 feet.
I mean, I could try to use the scale, but it's me as a scale.
If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, why not actually break out the scale? It
Yes,
tells you
please.
exactly what it is. That'd be good. It's right there on the thing to be used. That's what it's there for.
Okay.
Why don't you measure how many inches it is and multiply by 10? That'd be great. How many inches? I'm 10. That's the number of feet. That's the scale.
You need a pen?
Yeah.
That one, thank you.
All you have to do is measure the number of inches, guy. It's right there on the thing. I read it myself. You just have to get a ruler and measure the number of inches. That's all you have to do. It's really easy. It's right there.
It's a little around, it's approximately 30 feet.
Or approximately 30 feet.
Yes.
So your expert testimony is that John O'Keefe was hit with the SUV and flew 30 feet.
Projected mean like I don't say he flew all the way there. He was projected in that way. He got pushed forward in that direction.
Which he was rendered incapacitated, landed there, that's sort of fly there, right? Didn't walk there.
I mean, would you definitely flying like literally off the ground the whole entire time, or?
Well, you tell me, you're the expert.
I mean, he got, when we say projected, he gets projected, and they usually have a landing phase, and they land, and they either roll, tumble to fall and rest.
Okay, how far do you think he landed? How far was it until he landed of that 30 feet?
I don't know. There's no indication of where his exact landing spot was.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that he landed and rolled?
And there was no evidence that he landed or rolled. Rolled.
According to you, the evidence that you have in front of you is that you get hit, fly 30 feet,
Yeah.
land where he ended up in his final rest, right?
Objection.
Sustained, ask.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's no indication that the body rolled like down a hill. And the theory of the state is that he was incapacitated from the hits. So he can't have walked, right? Or they don't say, look, he was essentially incapacitated, but he had a couple moments there before he succumbed to his injury and, was able to walk a little bit. And so he walked 10 feet and that's where he collapsed. No, that's not the theory of the state. The theory of the state is he was incapacitated from the moment of impact. That is their theory. Okay. So let's go with that. So that means that the distance between where the car hit him and where the body landed, because there's no evidence of rolling, right? Every inch of that must be due solely to the car.
Because be better of an answer than what I could give. So let's start out listening to how Jackson wants to set up these guardrails and why. Why does he want to make sure certain things don't come out during this process? We'll talk about all that.
All right, let's bring her in, please.
Well, Your Honor, before we get started,
Real
can I get
lawyers
a-
react.
an understanding?
Go
Started to
check
say
him
that,
out on
sidebar
YouTube, the
evidence
lawyer you know.
gives the witnesses. I need a little bit of an understanding of what his expectations are.
reacted
My understanding of what
to
here, which this is the unusual in terms of the timing of it.
So the understanding of the voir dire is this is for the Commonwealth's motion to exclude this testimony. All right, that's what we're here for, the Rule 14 violation.
Is that the same with Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rich?
Well, I thought that would help both of you. The Commonwealth has nothing on that, and you say you haven't been able to even talk to them at all about this case.
That's correct.
So I want to find out if they have any credible, competent evidence to put forward. So we'll have a voir dire on them as well. But for Dr. Russell, what we're doing here today is there's an alleged this appears to me to be a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of defense.
So she starts out saying this appears to her to be a violation. That's not good. When the judge says you violated the rules, that's not good.
Counsel regarding Dr. Russell. So let's hear from her today to see what the appropriate remedy is for this violation.
So my intention is to ask her so I have, the court understands my sort of guardrails. My intention is to ask her what her qualifications are. That's the basis for what I'm here. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not intending to ask her what her opinions are, conclusions. I'm going to ask her if she's come to opinions and conclusions, but I don't have to examine her concerning her full opinions, full conclusions, what she's based those conclusions on. It's unfair. We've provided the defense everything that the prosecution, everything that we need to provide to them in terms of disclosure. They've got the equivalent of the report. They've got a summary of what she's going to testify.
When was that provided? My order was 1 week from the start of trial, right?
But we didn't, Your Honor, in fairness, they didn't even finish their discovery 1 week before the start of trial. So it's a little unfair for us to be put on.
1 week from the filing of the certificate of compliance.
Well, I don't know when this, I can't remember. My co-counsel indications the day before trial.
Okay.
So during the course of the trial is a dynamic thing. During the course of the trial, I did not know who Dr. Maureen Russell was at the time that they filed their certificate of compliance. We then attempted to and did give them the reciprocal discovery that we were obligated to do after they filed their certificate of compliance.
When?
Within 3 days of that. We've been giving them information prior to that, but at least within 3 days of that. We've continued, so the record's clear, we've continued to get additional discovery from the Commonwealth and notices of discovery throughout the trial. They have not finished. In fact, during the trial, they interviewed Jim McCabe, apparently, had a full interview with her. Lieutenant Tully took a report, dated the report, and then they held on to that report until after she testified. The interview, the report, and the completion of the report were all done before her testimony.
Do you need to call her again?
That's not
So here's what's annoying. Okay. And we'll talk about the different standards she has for the Commonwealth versus the defense throughout this entire hearing. But he's like, you want to talk about discovery violations? During the trial, McCabe was interviewed. A report was made before she testified. It was held on to. They didn't give it to us till after she testified. And so we didn't even get to use that report in cross-examining her. Instead of Bev saying, well, I find that there's been a discovery violation. And there is a discovery violation. That is not okay. And we've got to make sure we fix that. She doesn't say that. She just says, oh, do you want to call her again? You don't care to call her again. That was no big deal. So why are you making such a big deal about it? It's like, okay, no, we don't want to call her again. We're just making the point that we've been pushed through this trial, and it's really not a situation where we have everything ready to go, which is why we wanted to continue, why the state wanted to continue, and you didn't let us, and that's fine. But stuff's going to pop up. And the real question for me is the interests of justice. We do not want an innocent person in prison. If they have evidence of her innocence potentially, now maybe the jury won't see it that way, but if they do, we have to let it in America. If there was a new eyewitness, there are things we can do to make sure they're able to testify in the interest of justice. The victims deserve justice. The defendants deserve justice. The citizens deserve justice. So we have to make sure that we do this right. And if it's a nothing burger, then fine. No big deal with Jen McCabe. But if it's important, we have to make sure that we get this right and we allow people to testify to something that's important. And that's all they're saying.
And I think the court understands. That's not my point. My point is not, I need to call Jennifer McCabe back. I've done the damage that needs to be done on Jennifer McCabe. The point is,
I'm sorry, I missed that. You've what?
I've done the damage that needed to be done on Jennifer McCabe. I don't need to call her back. The point is that what's good for the
He
goose
said, I've done the damage to Jennifer McCabe. We don't need to call her back. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander, meaning if they're missing stuff or if they're responding late, we should be able to too.
good for the gander. The Commonwealth doesn't get to stand in the position of piecemealing and feeding us information, reports, discovery throughout the course of the trial. And by the way, when we then got seminal information about an expert that we did not know about, never met, never heard of, within 3 days of that, we provide everything that we have about that witness to the Commonwealth. They can't then turn around and say, oh, well, it's all the defense's fault. So we want to have a voir dire, which means that the euphemism for that voir dire is we want to have two bites at the apple.
Okay.
We want to be able to completely cross-examine her and go back to our expert. And if she testifies, cross-examine her again after consulting with our expert. That's two bites at the apple, and that's not fair. If the court wants to hear whether or not Dr. Marie Russell is qualified to testify about the arm injuries, that, I believe, is the parameters, the proper parameters of the voir dire, and that's what I'm prepared to do today. But I wasn't planning on getting into the substance of her testimony because that's been provided. And I don't think Mr. Valley should be able to get into the substance of her testimony because he knows what her substance is because, like I said, that's been provided.
All right, so
So,
I disagree.
What he's arguing about there, and what is one of the big, sorry, we're having a technical issue again. The super chats are not automatically starring and the membership stuff. So we're trying to figure that out to make sure I get to all the questions at some point. But his really big argument here is I don't want the state to be able to depose all of these witnesses, especially right now. Think about the timing, okay? We're about to get this doctor to come up. And the medical examiners, which are the medical experts for the Commonwealth, have not testified yet. We think they're coming next. So the Commonwealth is going to have the opportunity to depose this expert, talk to their experts, respond to the defense expert before the defense expert ever gets to take the stand. And in most jurisdictions, that's no big deal. Like here in Florida, we're allowed to depose all the experts. No big deal. But in Massachusetts, there's not a general rule that allows you to depose experts in criminal cases before the trial. There are some circumstances where they allow it, but this is not one. So Jackson is really trying to protect that. Now, there are reports that some of these experts have that each side has read, so they know what their general opinion is going to be, but he does not want all of these experts' opinions to just come out. So what does that mean? What's Bev going to do? And it's going to be really interesting what the judge ends up doing and why. Breezy said, Pita, have you ever seen a judge tell the DA what questions to ask? I was actually appalled. Is this an appellate issue? Not an appellate issue. Yes, I've seen it before. Judges help prosecutors all the time. Witsit, Sorry I'm late to the party in terms of the trial. I was pretty convinced there was a police cover-up regarding some event in the House pretrial. Has that been sufficiently displayed at this point? It hasn't been proven. It's been displayed. We're definitely thinking about it. We see that that's the point of what the defense is doing, but I wouldn't say it's been proven. Yobi, what shade of orange is that shirt? I believe it's burnt. I believe that's what they call it.
I'm going to allow that.
No, I didn't know where it was retrieved from.
You didn't know where it was retrieved from.
Correct.
All right. But you did include in your report that while Proctor and Buchanan were on scene, they retrieved the cell phone of John O'Keefe, correct?
At some point during the day, they did. I don't know where from. So there's multiple.
Yeah, I'm asking about your report, Trooper. You know I'm questioning you about your report.
No, I understand. I'm explaining.
Yeah,
I don't know what
You
scene
don't get to
it's
explain, sir,
Oh.
most respectfully, until Mr. Lally questions you.
Okay, so no comments. I think to speed things along, do you have your report with you?
I do, Your Honor.
I think it'll make it easier,
Oh,
Ms.
can you read
Giannetti.
the first two lines? of that?
Let him grab it.
Go.
Can you read the first two lines to the jury, please?
Yep. On Saturday, January 29th, 2022, Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan of the Norfolk District Attorney's Office responded to the unattended death of John O'Keefe at 34 Fairview Road in Canton. Through his investigation, was found O'Keefe was a victim of a motor vehicle homicide. While on scene, Trooper Proctor secured O'Keefe's phone and brought it to the Norfolk DA's office for forensic analysis.
Okay. So you'd agree with me that you included that clause, while on scene, they secured his phone, did you not?
I did write that.
Okay. And that was back on February 4th of 2022, correct?
Yes, it was.
Within 6 days of John O'Keefe being found mortally wounded on Albert's lawn, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, you knew that the crime scene was 34 Fairview Road, correct?
No,
Yet you put in your report while on scene, did you not?
yes. I don't know what scene they recovered from. I know they went multiple places on the 29th. They didn't get back to me till 7:30 that night almost
Okay.
when I first got the
Well,
phone.
you'd agree with me that the Canton Police Department wasn't the crime scene, correct?
I never said crime scene in my report. I wrote scene.
Okay. Well, Canton Police Department was not the scene of any crime, was it?
I don't know. I don't believe so.
You don't know if
Oh,
the
yeah,
Canton
it
Police
was.
Department was the scene of a crime. Is
I
that
don't
what
think it was.
You don't think it is? Okay. Now, in that report, you were trying to establish the chain of custody of that phone, right? Because you described where it was found, where it was taken, and who had possession of it, correct?
I said it never said where it was taken. I said the phone was recovered on scene by Trooper Proctor. Again, I don't know where it was recovered from. I did find out later it was at Canton PD.
Well, hold on a second. Again, we're focusing on your report.
I know, I'm reading it.
As opposed to details you want to fill in now, okay?
Okay.
With regard to, you just testified that you never said where it was taken, yet previously you said it was taken to you, was it not?
No, I said recovered from.
Wait a minute.
What the scene location?
Did Trooper Proctor take the phone to you and
Yes.
hand it to you?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so it was taken to you, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So you described in your report where it was found because you said while on scene, correct?
Correct.
And where it was taken to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And who had possession of it, which was initially Trooper Proctor in terms of your observations, and then you, correct?
That is who brought me the phone to the DA's office. Yes.
And you would agree with me that chain of custody of a piece of evidence is an important detail in any criminal investigation, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with me that someone reading your report or listening to it as the jury listened today would understand you to be saying that Michael Proctor seized John O'Keefe's cell phone at 34 Road in Canton?
Objection.
All right. I'd like to ask you some questions about the extraction that you discussed in that same February 4th, 2022 report, the very same report. In that report, after you name the tools that you use to extract data from the phone, you indicated that a copy of that cell phone extraction was placed on a state police server, or was it a DA's office server?
DA's office server.
Okay, on a server so that it could be accessed there, correct?
That is correct.
But that extraction you placed on the server did not include all the potential data on John O'Keefe's phone, did it?
How do you mean?
Well, didn't you indicate in your report that the extraction was not inclusive of all potential data contained within the device?
No, that's not true.
Well, the extraction that you did contained communications, iOS messages, phone calls, social media communications between John O'Keefe and Karen Reed, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And it contained communications between John O'Keefe and Jennifer McCabe.
Yes, that's true.
It contained communications between John O'Keefe and Kerry Roberts.
I can't recall.
All right. But it did not include any communications between John O'Keefe and Julie Albert, did it?
Again, I can't recall.
And again, I'm talking about that initial extraction. That initial one didn't include any communications between John O'Keefe and Chris Albert, did it?
I only created one extraction of John O'Keefe's phone.
That extraction report also did not include any location data, did it?
No, it did.
You didn't note any location data in that initial report, did you?
In the February 4th report?
Correct.
I didn't go through the data at that point.
All right.
This is just my extraction report saying that I got the phone, it was extracted and placed onto the server. And then I wrote, this report is not inclusive of all potential evidence, potential data contained within this evidence.
When was the first time that you reported on location data in this case?
I don't remember.
Wasn't until April of 2023, correct?
There was a reason for that.
Well, I didn't ask you if there was a reason for it, sir. You understood my question, didn't you?
That's correct. My first report regarding was in January.
We're talking about John O'Keefe's phone now here.
Yeah.
You did not report on the location data on John O'Keefe's phone until April of 2023, correct?
I didn't look at the extraction initially.
And you also did not report on any Apple Health data until the spring of 2023, correct?
Again, I didn't look at the phone extraction. Trooper Proctor would have looked at it. I would have loaded it and given it to him.
Okay, so Trooper Proctor had access to the phone first, and then you took care of it, correct?
He had access to the extraction that I would load onto Cellbrite for him to look at, where you can't change the data. That is correct.
Okay. And you would agree with me that you didn't address John O'Keefe's health or location data in any formal report until that April 23 report, correct?
That is correct. I never went through it.
Right, and you submitted your report in April of 2023 after you became aware of an affidavit filed by the defense expert, Rick Green, in which Mr. Green extracted and analyzed John O'Keefe's location data and his movements according to Apple Health data. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Before Rick Green submitted that affidavit, no member of the state police homicide investigation team, including you, had ever looked at or at least reported on the location data for anyone present at 34 Fairview, correct?
For the devices that we had, sir?
For John O'Keefe's device, for Jennifer McCabe's device, etc.
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
All right, but you didn't, correct?
Again, I didn't look at the extractions until later.
Right.
I asked you if. Did it appear if someone just appeared out of nowhere in the back?
All right, man. We appreciate everybody. We'll be back later with more.
Not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
And one of the best games all year.
No, it was great. We actually practiced. It's federal. Switchy Frank. Let's go. Come take a ride through my city life. See what my city's like. This is city life. The summits is shitty life. This is city living, mostly them city children. From my bedroom, see the lights of them city buildings. Ain't gotta act hard, pride is my backyard. I run road out, you can call me a track star. And we a team, homie, all is one. I don't sleep until all is done. I ain't ruckus, so please don't call me Mr. 401. It's Mr. Rags, you can call me, I'm still in that 401. From where we was, look at all we come. For what it's worth, I put my all in the sun. Know that my city love it. I give about my city's budget, about my city's public, know how my city does
West Elmwood Intruders. There's a lot of guys that deserve opportunities, but for some reason the city is fumbling. They're fumbling. They're really fumbling. I mean, we can get into it, Mike. You know the story. I was at one. No doubt.
That's the bad guy. Bad guy. Bad guy. That's the bad guy. The bad guy. The bad guy. Commission. The bad guy.